Today we're gonna be making this side skirt look a little bit better and molding the fiberglass to the top of it. Right now I'm just going to measure everything out, mark it on our pre-made fiberglass sheet, cut it out of there, fit it up to here, trim it where it needs to be trimmed, and then we are going to fix it to this somehow, whether it be some sort of screw or clamp or something. Then we're gonna pull this off and mold it around this, and then from there we'll be able to trim and create our edge. So the camera turned off while I was doing this. I just got really into it and I just wanted to keep going. But we got it cut down for the most part. At this point, we are good enough to clamp it to the frame and then mold it. I'm not gonna worry about these gaps or anything here. That'll all be taken care of. We're gonna do that later on, because if I were to try and sand this down perfectly and try and get this all perfect up against here, it would just take way too long and it's not worth it. Whereas then later on, once this is molded to here and fixed to the frame here, then I'll just be able to fiberglass from the back body really quickly and it'll be done. So it's not worth taking the time to do that right now. The edges aren't perfectly straight, I know. We'll take care of those later. Again, we're really just using this to get the majority of this as flat as possible, as quick as possible. And you can see that because this is a smaller piece, there's very little flex right here in the middle, you know, where there's not anything really holding it up. And trying to keep this up with the grinder here, but I'm gonna fix this top layer of fiberglass to the frame somehow, and then we'll pull this off and then start glassing it from behind. You guys aren't gonna like this, but I'm scrapping the metal frame. I think it's just gonna end up being too heavy and less structural than if I were to build the entire thing out of fiberglass. So we're not really losing a whole lot of time today. It was just really yesterday whenever I was building the frame, that is kind of entirely lost and whatever. We'll have the material for a different project. We'll save that. Anyways, this still isn't scrapped. We're gonna be using this. What I'm gonna do is I'm just going to do the tape across here. I'm gonna fiberglass this. So basically the entire underside of this is all gonna be fiberglass, right? And then I'm going to drill my holes. I'm gonna do rivet nuts, but I'm gonna offset them so that way we have a little bit more just rigidity this way, because some of you guys commented when I did just these two, yes, there's gonna be a little bit of movement eventually, and it's eventually gonna make these things loose and everything, and just not really work out that well. So I think that basically doing it all in fiberglass is not only going to be stiffer, but it'll also be lighter, or at least a little bit. So I'm basically going to have it mount to the body here with riv nuts every couple, you know, little bit. We want enough to keep it sturdy, but we don't want too many to where if we're stuck in a situation where we need to take them off quickly, it won't take a ton of time. So basically I'm going to do this entire underside with fiberglass, and then we're going to have to figure out how to make this thing as flat as possible when we do our little sheet here to do the edge and everything. So I'm just gonna get that out of the way. That should only take whatever, an hour to dry, and then we can drill the holes, do our riv nuts, and then meanwhile we can start figuring out all this stuff, our edge and everything, and start fiberglassing that. And then once that's done, then we can fiberglass it to this, then it will be mounted to the car, and then from there we can start shaping it and making it actually fit the body and the flares. Sounds pretty simple, but that's probably gonna take the rest of the day. this is becoming increasingly complicated on the way I'm going to go about doing this to get it as close as possible, as quickly as possible. Because of the flex in this, I want to have some sort of structure on the back so that way it doesn't flex. So I was thinking of doing the outside edge. However, we don't know how flat the outside edge is, where it's gonna be, or where it's gonna be until we mount it up against here. And the problem is I can't really mount it up against here until we know that that's flat, because if we don't know that it's flat, it's gonna have this curve or bends or whatever, and I'm not sure what to do and how to get that on here, to mold that onto here so that it's flat without doing the edge before, you know, it makes sense to do it, because obviously that edge won't be perfect all the way across because this isn't perfect all the way across. And it's just, it all kind of, you know, because it's so custom, I guess, it just, everything depends on everything, and kind of just got to juggle them all and do it, you know, as best you can. Please excuse the noise from the new fan. I'm just leaving that on because I don't want to have to turn it off while I talk real quick. But we did get a much bigger fan to try and suck some of the dust out of here and the fumes or whatever. Anyways, I went ahead and mounted this side skirt. It's mounted really well. It's just a little bit lower than we wanted it to. So before I move along, I really wanted to get the other side going and see if it's at least going to be the same, because I don't want to do this side entirely and then do the other one and then for them to be a little bit off. I'd rather them both be a little bit off from what I wanted than from one to end up like this and one to end up a little bit different. So I went ahead and started on the other side. I did the same exact thing. I fiberglass down here. This is only the first layer. I got to do a second layer once this dries so that way it doesn't sag like it did last time. I went ahead and cut out this side skirt top piece, and so that means as soon as I get that second layer on there, that dries, that means that we're going to be able to fiberglass this to that and then pull it off and do it fully, and then we'll be at the same exact point as the other side. It's honestly relatively simple. It's just a lot of waiting because the fiberglass is taking a long time to dry. Since you've last seen, I have since trimmed the bottom piece that's up against the rocker and did our little stitch fiberglass. We did one piece there, one piece here, and one piece there, just to get that on there temporarily. That way we can pull this off, fiberglass the whole thing, and like we should have done with this piece, we're going to then put it back on here and let it set while it is at its fixed position with the set height that we want it at. Over here, I put these little ribs in. I put 4 of them in all the way across. I didn't attach them to here, and I didn't make them go all the way to here for good reason. And that's because this is basically sagging. It's not that it's sagging, it's that it's basically mounted a little too low, because after we did our little ones, I brought it over here and I figured it would be pretty much sitting where it wants to sit anyways. And then I fiberglassed the whole thing and let it sit here. However, it made it kind of sag a little bit, I guess. So the whole point of these is that I'm going to put it up against the car, set it up at the height we want, and then we are going to fiberglass these ribs to this part here, and hopefully that will push this back a little bit, which will push this up, which will make it higher, and we can stick it to the point where we want it to be at. If not, we might have to cut this apart and redo it. I'm not sure yet, but the only thing we would have to do is really just cut this area here across there and just redo that, which isn't a huge deal, but it would be better if we could just do it this way. But either way, I was gonna do something like this anyways, so this is really just gonna add a lot of rigidity to it. And again, after we do our end pieces, which we're gonna have to figure out where this edge is going to be before we make those, but once that's made and then these are attached to that and this is attached to this, it's going to be a really strong piece. And I have no doubt that this is going to be more than strong enough, and pretty much just as strong as if we made it out of metal anyways. What is up, guys? Sorry for the huge, massive gaps in between progress. I've really just been trying to dial in these side skirts over the last couple of days. I haven't really been doing anything too crazy or too different. Essentially, I got this side skirt sitting absolutely perfect, and then I just now got this first side skirt that we were trying to do first set up, and after this dries, it will be to the same exact point as the other one. I just had to do a little bit of finishing fiberglass from behind and then remount it. As for this one, we had to try and put in these ribs that you saw, and then I tried to fiberglass those ribs to the back piece at the height that I wanted it to be at to try and force it up. That didn't really work out all that well. It still wanted to hang down a little bit more than we wanted it to be, so I totally cut it apart from that piece that is up against the rocker and totally refiberglassed that just today. And then I, did the little bits under there that I could while it was on the car, and then from there pulled it off and just now did the fiberglass all the way across the back. So after this, it'll be to the same exact point as the other side. You can see here that I marked out where I'm going to cut this. Originally, I had it going all the way out to the end of this flare just because that kind of makes sense to me, and that's what I think would look best. Just because it goes all the way to the end of that flare. But after looking at a ton of reference pictures, it ends up that I haven't seen a single one that goes all the way to here. It seems like almost all of them end at the flare or significantly further back. But if we put into the body here, it'll just kind of look clean and look a little bit better. So I think we're gonna end it right at that end of the flare, or the back of the flare here, and that'll be nice. And so I'm gonna have to cut that off eventually, but I just wanted to keep everything how it was. While I fiberglassed it, that will be cut off eventually. As for the other side, I basically did everything from scratch and did it kind of properly. I did everything making sure that this was at the height that I wanted it to be at. I didn't let it dry at all off the car. I let everything dry while it was set up with those washers at the exact height. So now it's pretty sturdy. Everything's pretty good, especially where these ribs are. Right here, we're gonna have to add a little bit of rigidity, but we're gonna figure out this first. These huge gaps, don't worry about those right now, because after we get the edge on here and we make it a little bit more rigid, we're gonna be able to put fiberglass from the backside with our cardboard up against here, and it's going to mold up against this flare and up against the body really easily, and we'll be able to sand that down, make that flat super easy. And then up here we have our measurements as well, where we're going to cut. Obviously at the end, at the back of this flare as well. But this is the height that we're gonna have it at, but we are gonna have that inch lower. So we are gonna have it about 2 inches off the ground from that edge. So this is about 3 inches off the ground. We are going to have to sand all this down, flatten all this out before we put our edge on there, just to make sure it's exactly where we want this edge before we put that piece. Otherwise, everything would be messed up, and this slight bend in here would make our side piece a little bendy, and then trying to bodywork that flat wouldn't be as easy as if we just made this flat. As you can see, this side skirt is looking really good, and this one is gonna be there as soon as we are able to let this dry and get these washers out of here. This whole week's progress has been really slow. I had to redo a bunch of different things, and a lot of it's just been kind of figuring this stuff out. Obviously, I've never made side skirts from complete scratch before, and you see that it's kind of trial and error with the metal frame that we built. Completely scrapped that and just went with the complete fiberglass. I'm super happy that we went with this. This is more than sturdy. When the thing is off the car, I mean, if you guys have ever touched one of those, or if you guys have ever picked up one of those 240 side skirts that kind of just go into the door well and kind of just screw up with a couple screws, they're so much more flimsy than these things are. I'm really happy with the way these turned out so far, and this is just the start. Once we get that edge on there, these will be so much sturdier, and then we'll tie those into the ribs too, and then everything else. They're just gonna be so sturdy and also a little bit lighter than if we went with the metal frame. I know that was a lot of information really quickly. We just got a lot done over the past week, and I really wasn't updating you guys a whole lot. That first initial couple of days, I filmed everything, and then after that, it was just kind of redoing stuff and doing a bunch of other stuff that was kind of just not really all that fun to show. You guys will see in a part 2 of this video where we will be finishing these things off and getting that edge on there and really making these things pretty much fully done, or at least the initial shape done before we start getting into bodywork and paint prep. Also, for those of you who are interested, I do have merchandise in the description. It really does help out me and the channel and to get these builds going a lot quicker. If you are interested, I have my shirts, hoodies, long sleeves, and stickers in the description. Check it out. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and peace out.